Kansas City, January 1935. It is a time of shadows. The Great Depression has settled deep into the bones of America, leaving cities gray and weary. But here, in the heart of the Midwest, the lights still flicker against the winter cold. Imagine the streets on a Tuesday afternoon. The sky is a heavy, bruised purple, threatening a storm that never quite breaks. The air smells of wet pavement, coal smoke, and the faint, metallic scent of impending snow. Down on Baltimore Avenue, the wind whips through the canyons of brick and mortar, rattling the awnings of the shops that have closed early for the day. Standing tall against this gloom is the Hotel President. It is a monument to a fading era of opulence. 14 stories of red brick and terracotta, rising like a fortress. Inside, it is a different world. A world of polished marble floors that click sharply under the heels of businessmen. A world of heavy velvet drapes, crystal chandeliers, and the soft, murmuring hum of privacy. Pause fives. The date is January the 2nd. The clock on the wall ticks past 1 p.m. The lobby is quiet, save for the distant clatter of a telegraph machine and the rustle of newspapers. The revolving doors spin, pushing a gust of cold winter air into the warmth of the foyer. A man steps inside. He is a figure who seems to carry the grayness of the street in with him. He is tall, perhaps 6 feet, with broad shoulders that slump slightly under the weight of a heavy, dark overcoat. He wears a fedora, pulled low, casting a shadow over his eyes. He doesn't look like a businessman. He does not look like a traveler. He moves with a strange, drifting purpose. He walks across the lobby floor. He carries no luggage, no leather suitcase, no trunk, no garment bag. Nothing. His hands are empty, save for the tension in his fingers. He approaches the front desk. The clerk, looking up from his ledger, sees a face that is hard to place. It is a face marked by life. There is a jagged white scar running along the side of his head, disappearing into his hair. His ear, the left one, is misshapen, thickened in the way that prize fighters' ears often are. It is a cauliflower ear, a permanent souvenir of violence. The man speaks. His voice is deep, flat, and devoid of any regional accent. I need a room. He does not ask for a view of the city. He does not ask for luxury. An inside room, he specifies. Somewhere high up, somewhere quiet. An inside room. These were the rooms that faced the hotel's internal air shaft, rather than the street. They were cheaper, yes, but they were also darker. Even at noon, an inside room would be dim, illuminated only by the gray light filtering down from the square of sky far above. The clerk nods and slides the registration card across the marble counter. The man picks up the fountain pen. His hand does not shake. In firm block letters, he writes a name. Roland T. Owen, Los Angeles. It is a lie, but the clerk does not know this. He simply hands over a heavy brass key. Room 1046, sir. 10th floor. Owen takes the key. He pays in cash. He does not smile. He turns and walks toward the elevators, his coat swaying around his ankles. As the brass doors of the elevator slide shut, sealing him inside, he vanishes from the public eye. He is now just a number. 1046. The 10th floor, the Hotel President, is a study in silence. The carpet here is thick, swallowing the sound of footsteps. The wallpaper is a dull floral pattern, repeating endlessly down the long, narrow corridor. Owen finds his door. He unlocks it and steps inside. Room 1046 is small. It is functional. There is a bed with a white chenille spread, a simple wooden dresser, a telephone on a small nightstand, a bathroom with a porcelain tub and a checkered tile floor. Because it faces the air shaft, the room feels secluded, almost like a cave cut into the side of a mountain. The first thing Owen does is create his sanctuary. He walks to the single window. He takes the heavy curtains and pulls them shut. Swish. The gray light of the afternoon is extinguished. The room is plunged into an artificial twilight. He does not turn on the ceiling light. Instead, he switches on a small dim lamp on the desk. It casts a weak yellow pool of light, leaving the corners of the room in deep shadow. He takes off his coat. From the deep pockets, he removes his only possessions: a black comb, a toothbrush, a tube of toothpaste. He places them on the glass shelf above the bathroom sink. They sit there, stark and lonely against the white porcelain. This is everything he has. A man with no past, no clothes, no identity, just the bare essentials to exist. He returns to the main room. He sits down on the edge of the bed, and he waits. He does not read. He does not sleep. He sits in the semi-darkness, listening to the muffled sounds of the hotel living its life around him. The distant hum of the elevator cables, the faint drip of a faucet, the beating of his own heart. Wednesday, January 3rd. The morning arrives, but in room 1046, it is still night. The curtains remain drawn tight. Mary Soptic, a veteran chambermaid with efficient hands and a keen eye, pushes her cart down the hallway. It is noon. Most guests have gone out for lunch or business. She arrives at room 1046. The door is locked. She knocks. Rap, rap, rap. Housekeeping. From inside, a voice answers. It sounds startled, perhaps a little nervous. Come in. The door is unlocked. Mary tries the handle. It turns. She steps inside. The darkness hits her first. It feels heavy, stagnant. I'm sorry, she says, reaching for the light switch. It's so dark in here. No, the command is sharp. Owen is sitting in the corner, in the shadows of the armchair. Don't turn on the lights. Leave the door open if you need to see. Mary works quickly, unnerved by the man's presence. She makes the bed, dusting around the edges of the room. She notices the man is fully dressed in a black suit. He is just sitting there, watching the wall. You're not going out today, sir? She asks, trying to be polite. No, he says. I'm waiting for a friend. Don't lock the door when you leave. Mary nods. She finishes her work and backs out of the room. As she moves down the hall, she can't shake the feeling of those eyes staring into the dark. 4 hours later, Mary returns with fresh towels. The door is still unlocked. The room is still dark, but this time, the silence is broken. The man, Owen, is lying on the bed, fully clothed in the dark. The telephone is pressed to his ear. He is listening intently. Mary moves quietly, placing the towels on the rack. She hears him speak. No, Don, I don't want to eat. His voice is low, pleading. I'm not hungry. I just had breakfast. A pause. The person on the other end must be insisting. No, I'm not hungry. He hangs up. He does not acknowledge Mary. The name Don hangs in the air. Who is Don? Why is he forcing this man to eat? Why is Owen lying in the dark, waiting for a man he seems to fear? Mary leaves quickly. She feels a chill that has nothing to do with the winter draft. Thursday, January 4th. The atmosphere in the hotel shifts. The air pressure drops. A storm is coming. Mary Soptic is on her rounds again. She approaches room 1046. This time, the door is locked from the outside. That means Owen has gone out. Mary uses her pass key. She opens the door and steps in, expecting an empty room. She freezes. Owen is there. He is sitting in the dark, in the exact same position as the day before. But the door was locked from the outside. How is this possible? If he is inside, he would have locked it from the inside. The only explanation sends a shiver down Mary's spine. Someone else locked him in. Someone else has the key. The phone rings. It screams into the silence. Owen does not move to answer it. He just sits there. Mary, thinking she should help, picks it up. "Hello?" she says. There is a pause on the line. Then a voice. It is not Don. It is not the polite voice of a guest. It is a rough, deep, jagged voice. A voice that sounds like grinding stones. "No, Don, I don't want to eat. I'm not hungry. I just had breakfast. No, I'm not hungry." Wait. I apologize. Let's rewind the scene. The memory of the witness is specific. "Let's go back to the phone call," Mary answered. She picks up the phone. The rough voice on the other end does not ask who she is. It simply demands, "Where is he?" Mary stammers, "Who?" "The man in the room. Put him on." Mary hands the phone to Owen. He takes it without a word. She leaves, the sound of the locking door echoing behind her like a cell closing. Later that evening, the hotel is quiet, but room 1046 is not. Guests in the adjacent rooms hear voices, not a conversation, an argument. There are two men. One voice is sharp, demanding. The other, Owen's voice, is low, submissive. "Turn on the lights," the rough voice growls. I said, "Turn on the lights." Then a thud, a heavy sound against the wall, and then silence. A long, heavy silence that stretches through the night. Friday morning, January 5th. The city is waking up to a cold, gray dawn. At the hotel switchboard, a light blinks red. Room 1046. The phone is off the hook. The operator watches the light for 10 minutes. 15. "Room 1046? She asks into her headset. "Hello? Is anyone there?" Only static. She sends a bellboy, a young man named Randolph, up to check. Randolph whistles as he walks down the 10th floor hallway. He assumes it's just a drunk guest who knocked the phone over. He knocks on 1046. No answer. He turns the handle. Locked. He knocks louder. "Mr. Owen, your phone is off the hook." A voice comes from inside. It is weak, guttural, like dry leaves scraping together. "Come in. Turn on the lights." Randolph tries the door again. "It's locked, sir. You have to open it." "Turn on the lights," the voice repeats, fading away. Randolph, assuming the man is just intoxicated and confused, shakes his head. "Please hang up the phone, sir," he shouts through the wood. He walks away. An hour later. The light on the switchboard is still blinking. The operator is annoyed now. She sends Randolph back with a pass key. "Go in there and hang it up," she orders. Randolph returns. He slides the heavy brass key into the lock. The tumblers click. He pushes the door open. The room is dark, as always. But as his eyes adjust to the gloom, the smell hits him. It is the smell of copper, the metallic, thick scent of blood. He fumbles for the switch and floods the room with light. Randolph gasps and stumbles backward. The room is a slaughterhouse. Roland T. Owen is huddled on the floor near the door. He is naked. He is crouching on his knees and elbows, his head hanging low. His skull has been fractured. There are knife wounds on his chest. His neck is bruised purple from a cord that has been tightened and then released. The bedsheets are stained crimson. The walls are splattered. Randolph runs to the phone that has been lying on the floor this whole time, and calls for help. Police arrive. A detective kneels beside the dying man. Owen is barely conscious. His eyes are swollen shut. "Who did this to you?" the detective asks urgently. "Who was in here?" Owen moves his lips, a whisper barely audible over the sound of the rain outside. "Nobody," he rasps. "Nobody?" The detective is incredulous. "You've been tortured, man. Who hurt you?" Owen takes a shallow, rattling breath. "Nobody," he insists. I just fell against the bathtub." He drifts into unconsciousness. He is rushed to the hospital, but the damage is done. Roland T. Owen, the man with no luggage, no clothes, and no past, dies that night. He leaves behind only a mystery, a locked room, a missing identity, and a loyalty to a killer named Don. That lasted until his final breath. Leaving the dark hotel room in Kansas City behind, let us travel forward in time, 35 years forward, and let us travel across the ocean to the cold, rugged landscape of Norway. It is November 1970. The location is the Isdalen Valley. The locals call it Ice Valley. It is a place of desolate beauty. Steep, rocky slopes rise up on either side, covered in moss and jagged stones. The wind here does not just blow, it howls. It cuts through layers of clothing, carrying the biting chill of the coming winter. It is a Sunday afternoon, November 29th. A father and his 2 young daughters are hiking up the trail. The ground is frozen hard. The sky is a flat, iron gray, hanging low over the mountain peaks. As they climb higher, away from the city of Bergen, the air grows thinner, sharper. One of the daughters spots something off the path. It lies among a cluster of rocks in an area known as a scree, a slope of loose stones. At first, it looks like a mannequin, or perhaps a pile of discarded rags. But as they get closer, the horrific reality becomes clear. It is a woman. She is lying on her back, her arms extended in a strange, frozen gesture. But it is not the cold that has taken her. It is fire. Her body is charred. The front of her torso is blackened. Her clothes have been burned away, leaving only small fragments of fabric clinging to her skin. Around her, the smell is overpowering. Not just the smell of smoke, but the chemical, sweet stench of gasoline. The father turns his children away immediately. They rush back down the mountain to alert the police, and thus begins the investigation into the Isdal woman. A case that feels less like a crime and more like a spy novel brought to terrifying life. The Bergen police arrive as the light is fading. They seal off the valley. Floodlights are set up, casting long, dancing shadows against the rocks. The forensic team begins to comb through the scene, inch by inch, and what they find makes no sense. Next to the body, there are objects. Strange objects, arranged with a peculiar precision. There is a bottle of St. Halvard liqueur, empty. 2 plastic water bottles, also empty. A silver spoon, tarnished by the heat, and a burnt passport. But here is the detail that baffled the investigators. Next to the body, they found a watch, a jewelry watch, and a pair of earrings. They were not on her body. They had been taken off and placed carefully on a rock beside her. Why? Why would someone in their final moments, or perhaps her killer, take the time to remove jewelry and arrange it like a display? As they examine the body, they find something even more disturbing. The labels on her clothes, the tag on her remaining shirt, The label on her trousers, even the small tags on her undergarments, every single one of them, has been cut off with a razor blade. Removed. Systematically. Whatever clothes she was wearing, whatever brand, whatever origin. Someone wanted to make sure they could not be traced. She was a woman with no name, no country, and no past. Days later, a breakthrough. Police find 2 suitcases checked into the luggage lockers at the Bergen railway station. They were left there by a woman matching the description of the body in the valley. A fingerprint on a pair of sunglasses matches the body. The police open the suitcases, hoping for answers, hoping for a name. Instead, they find a collection of disguises. Let's look inside those suitcases together. Imagine the detectives lifting each item out, one by one. First, there are clothes, high quality, fashionable. But again, every label has been snipped off. There are 4 wigs, 4 different hairstyles, different colors. There are several pairs of non-prescription glasses. Glasses used not to see better, but to change one's appearance. Cosmetics, creams, makeup. All the branding scratched off or removed. They find money, lots of it. 500 Deutsche Marks, 130 Norwegian crowns, Belgian coins, Swiss coins, British coins. She was a traveler or a drifter. And then, deeper in the lining of the suitcase, they find a shopping bag from a store in Stavanger. It is the only thing she missed, the only label she forgot to destroy. Using this bag, police are able to trace her movements, and what they find is a dizzying maze of identities. She did not just have one name. She had 8. Genevieve Lancier, Claudia Tielt, Vera Jarl, Finella Lork, Alexia Zana Merches. 8 different passports, 8 different lives. She checked into hotels in Paris, in London, in Hamburg, in Oslo. Sometimes she was Belgian, sometimes South African, sometimes French. She changed hotels constantly. Sometimes she would check into a room, stay for one night, and then move to a hotel just down the street. But the most chilling discovery in the suitcase was a black notebook. Small, unassuming. Inside, there were rows of numbers and letters written in blue ink. It looked like nonsense. 22 N140, 18 N24M, 16J 25S, the Norwegian military intelligence was brought in. Code breakers worked day and night. Finally, they cracked it. It was not a message to a handler. It was a travel log. The letters stood for months, N for November, O for October. The numbers were dates. She was documenting her own movements with obsessive secrecy. Why would a tourist need to encode the dates of her travel? Unless she was being followed, or she was hunting someone. Witnesses began to come forward. Hotel staff remembered her. They described her as elegant. Dark hair, brown eyes. She spoke English, but with an accent no one could place. She always requested a room with a balcony, and she had a strange habit. Whenever she entered a new room, she would rearrange the furniture. She would move the armchair, shift the table. Was she looking for microphones? Was she creating a barricade? Or was it just a nervous tick of a woman living on the edge? One witness, a 26-year-old local man, told police a haunting story. 5 days before the body was found, he saw a woman hiking in the woods near Isdalen. She was dressed lightly for the weather. She looked terrified. As she passed him, she opened her mouth to speak. She looked ready to scream for help. But then, she looked behind her. Following a distance away were two men in dark coats. Their faces were grim. They were watching her. The woman closed her mouth. She lowered her head and kept walking straight into the darkness of the valley. The witness never saw her again. The autopsy revealed one final tragic twist. Inside her stomach, they found over 50 sleeping pills. 50. Not enough to be an accident, but there was also carbon monoxide in her blood, which means she was alive when the fire started. She also had a bruise on her neck. A blow, perhaps? A karate chop? So what happened in the ice valley? The police eventually ruled it a suicide. They said she took the pills, lit the fire, and lay down to die. But does a woman planning suicide travel with 8 identities? Does she cut the labels off her clothes? Does she encode her diary? And does she burn herself in the freezing rain of a remote valley? The year was 1970, the height of the Cold War. Norway was a strategic location, monitoring Soviet submarines in the North Sea. Was the Isdal woman a spy? Did she know too much? Some say she was an Israeli agent hunting Nazi war criminals who had fled to Norway. Others say she was a Soviet spy whose cover was blown. 50 years later, we still don't know her name. She was buried in a zinc coffin in a grave that will never rust. The ceremony was attended by 18 police officers. No family, no friends, just the rain falling on the wet earth. Somewhere in Europe, a family might still be waiting for her to come home. But she remains in the ice valley, a ghost in the fog. The wind howls through the valley one last time and then fades away. The mystery of the Isdal woman is locked away in the frozen ground. Leave the cold of Norway behind. Let the snow melt away. Bring your awareness back to the safety of your room. Listen to the rain outside your own window. It is a gentle rain now, not a storm, just a steady, rhythmic drumming. Washing away the tension, washing away the questions. You are safe, you are warm. The world of spies and secrets is far, far away. Let your breathing slow down, in and out, in and out. As we prepare to travel to our final destination, a beach on the other side of the world, where one last mystery awaits us in the sand. Let us leave the freezing rain of Norway behind. The mystery of the Isdal woman will remain forever frozen in the ice. Now, we must cross the Atlantic Ocean, back to the United States, but not to a city, not to a hotel room. We are going to a forest, a place where the trees grow thick and the shadows grow long. Welcome to Vermont. Specifically, a remote, rugged area in the southwestern part of the state. On a map, it looks like nothing more than endless green woodland surrounding Glastonbury Mountain. But to the locals, it is known by another name, the Bennington Triangle. It is not a documented location. You will not find it on any official government map. But the boundaries are drawn in fear. It encompasses the ghost town of Glastonbury, the deep wilderness of the Green Mountains, and the small town of Bennington. Long before the settlers arrived, the Native Americans refused to step foot on Glastonbury Mountain. They believed the land was cursed. They called it a place where the four winds met, a spiritual vortex that swallowed men whole. They said the ground itself was hungry. They only used the land for burying their dead, never for living. Perhaps we should have listened to them. Between 1945 and 1950, 5 people vanished in this exact area. They did not just get lost, they evaporated. 1 minute they were there, and the next they were gone. Let me tell you their stories. The first vanishing happened on November 12, 1945. Middy Rivers was not a tourist. He was 74 years old, but he was as fit as a man half his age. He had spent his entire life in these woods. He was an experienced hunting guide. He knew every rock, every stream, every deer trail in the Bennington forest. If anyone could survive in these woods, it was Middy Rivers. On that afternoon, he was leading a group of 4 hunters back to their camp. They were walking in a single file line along a trail near Long Trail Road. Middy was in the front, leading the way. The other hunters were right behind him. They were close enough to hear his footsteps crunching on the autumn leaves. They reached a bend in the path. Middy walked around the bend, disappearing from view for just a few seconds. When the hunters rounded the corner, the trail was empty. Middy was gone. They stopped. They called his name. "Middy! Middy!" Silence. Just the wind rustling the bare branches. They thought perhaps he had stepped into the bushes to tie his boot or scout ahead. They waited. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour. He never returned. A massive search was launched. Police, volunteers, seasoned trackers. They found only one clue. In a nearby creek, resting on a stone, was a single rifle cartridge. That was it. An experienced guide, surrounded by friends in an area he knew perfectly, simply ceased to exist. The locals began to whisper. They said the mountain had taken him. A year later, December 1st, 1946. The woods were hungry again. This time the victim was not an old guide. It was a young woman, Paula Welden, 18 years old, a sophomore at Bennington College. Paula was vibrant, artistic, and full of life. On that Sunday afternoon, she decided to go for a hike on the Long Trail. She was wearing a bright red coat. Keep that in mind. A bright red coat against the gray winter landscape. It would have been visible for miles. She left her dormitory and hitchhiked to the entrance of the trail. Several people saw her. A local contractor gave her a ride. An elderly couple saw her walking along the path. They warned her that she wasn't dressed warmly enough, as the temperature was dropping and snow was coming. Paula smiled, thanked them, and kept walking. She walked up a small incline and disappeared over a ridge. The elderly couple was only about 100 yards behind her. When they reached the top of the ridge, the trail ahead was empty. There was no red coat, no figure in the distance, just the long, straight path stretching into the darkening woods. The search for Paula Welden was the largest in Vermont's history. The FBI was called in. 5,000 volunteers combed the mountains. They used aircraft. They drained ponds. They found nothing, not a footprint, not a thread from her red coat. It was as if the sky had reached down and plucked her from the earth. Her father, desperate and grieving, spent years searching, investigating strange theories, but Paula was never seen again. Three years passed. The fear in the town began to settle. But on December 1st, 1949, exactly 3 years to the day after Paula vanished, the Bennington Triangle claimed its most baffling victim. James Tedford was a veteran. He was returning home to the soldiers' home in Bennington after visiting relatives. He boarded a bus in St. Albans. There were 14 other passengers on that bus. They all saw him. He was sitting in his seat, sleeping, as the bus rumbled down the highway through the Green Mountains. The bus made its final stop before Bennington. Tedford was still in his seat. The driver saw him. The bus continued on, non-stop, toward Bennington. But when the bus pulled into the station, James Tedford was gone. His luggage was still on the rack above his seat. An open bus timetable lay on his empty seat, but the man himself had vanished from inside a moving bus. How? Did he jump out of the window while the bus was speeding down the road? No one saw it. Did he turn invisible? The other passengers were bewildered. They swore he was there just minutes before. James Tedford became the man who disappeared from a sealed box. The mountain was not finished. October 12th, 1950. 8-year-old Paul Jeppson was a happy little boy. He accompanied his mother in her truck to a pigsty at the local dump where she worked. She left him in the truck for a moment to feed the animals. "Stay here, Paul," she said. "I'll be right back." She was gone for less than an hour. When she returned to the truck, Paul was gone. The search dogs were brought in. Bloodhounds. They picked up his scent. The dogs followed the scent trail from the truck toward the highway, and then suddenly the scent stopped in the middle of the road, as if he had been lifted up, or picked up by a car, or taken by something else. The boy was never found. But the final disappearance is the only one that offered a grim return. Frida Langer, 53 years old, an experienced hiker and survivalist. On October 28, 1950, she was hiking with her cousin near the Somerset Reservoir. She slipped and fell into a stream, soaking her clothes. She told her cousin, "Wait here. I'm going to run back to camp to change. It's only half a mile. I'll be right back." She jogged away. Her cousin waited and waited. She never arrived at the camp. Hundreds of people searched for her. They scoured every inch of the area near the reservoir. Helicopters, divers, trackers. Nothing. But then, 7 months later, May 12th, 1951, Frida Langer's body was found. But it wasn't found deep in the woods. It was found in an open field near the reservoir, an area that had been searched dozens of times by hundreds of people. The grass there was short. It would have been impossible to miss a body. Yet there she was, as if she had just been placed there. Because of the time and the elements, no cause of death could be determined. She was the last victim of the Bennington Triangle. After her, the disappearances stopped. The Bennington Triangle leaves us with questions about the land itself. But sometimes, the mystery isn't about the land. It's about the mind. And sometimes, the most terrifying disappearances happen in plain sight, captured by the cold lens of a camera. Let's fast forward. Leave the woods of Vermont. We are going to the year 2009. To the Red Oak Mountains of Oklahoma. This is the story of the Jamison family. A story that involves ghosts, a trance, and a truck abandoned with a fortune inside. Bobby Jamison, his wife Sherilyn, and their 6-year-old daughter Madison were a normal family on the surface. They lived near Eufaula Lake in Oklahoma. But in the weeks leading up to their disappearance, something dark had entered their home. Bobby and Sherilyn looked thin, emaciated. They told their pastor that their house was haunted. Sherilyn claimed she saw spirits. Bobby asked for special bullets to kill ghosts. Was it drugs? Was it mental illness? Or something else? On October 8th, 2009, the family decided to drive into the mountains to look at a plot of land they wanted to buy. They wanted to escape. But before they left, their home security cameras captured something chilling. The footage shows Bobby and Sherilyn packing their truck, but they are not moving normally. They are moving in a trance. They walk back and forth from the house to the truck. Sometimes they carry nothing. They stop and stare at the ground for minutes at a time. They do not speak to each other. They move like puppets. They load their dog, Maisie, into the truck, and then they drive away into the mountains and off the face of the earth. Let us return to that lonely dirt road in Latimer County, Oklahoma. It is October 17th, 2009. The hunters who stumbled upon the Jamisons' white pickup truck felt something was wrong immediately. The truck wasn't broken down. It was parked neatly, locked tight, but it felt abandoned, like a ship drifting at sea with no crew. When the police arrived and cracked open the doors, the mystery deepened. Inside, it wasn't just messy. It was a frozen moment in time. Sherilyn's purse was there. Her wallet, her ID, Bobby's wallet, and ID were there too. Their cell phones were sitting on the console. The GPS was still plugged in. If they had gone for a walk, why leave the phones? Why leave the GPS? If they were fleeing from danger, why lock the doors so carefully? But then, the searchers looked under the driver's seat. Tucked away in a bank bag was $32,000 in cash. Stacks of $100 bills. This discovery changed everything. People don't just walk away from a fortune, and thieves don't leave $32,000 behind. Whatever took the Jamison family, it wasn't robbery. The most heartbreaking detail, however, was in the back seat. Maisie, the family's small dog. She was still inside the truck. She had been trapped there for 8 days. She was severely malnourished, barely breathing, curled up on the seat waiting for masters who would never return. Sherilyn Jamison treated that dog like a child. Her friends said she would never, ever leave Maisie behind willingly. The fact that the dog was left to starve meant one thing. The family expected to be back in minutes, or they were forced away at gunpoint. As the search for the family dragged on for weeks, then months, the darkness of their private lives began to surface. Investigators found a spite letter written by Sherilyn to her husband, filled with anger and talk of death. They found a Bible in the truck with strange, erratic notes scribbled in the margins. But the strangest lead came from the family's own fears. Before they left, Bobby and Sherilyn had told their pastor that their house was possessed. They said spirits were attacking them. Bobby had asked if there were special bullets he could buy to shoot ghosts. Sherilyn had researched witchcraft. She had even written the names of 3 cats on the family storage container. Cats that she claimed had been poisoned by a local witch. Was this collective delusion? Methamphetamine psychosis? The police tested the truck for drugs. No meth, no drug paraphernalia. They checked their medical records. No history of severe psychosis. Just a family that believed, with total conviction, that they were being hunted by something not human. Then there was the theory of the cult. Locals whispered about a secretive religious group operating in the Sans-Bois Mountains. Had the Jamisons stumbled upon a ceremony they weren't supposed to see? Or had they driven into these mountains to make a deal with someone or something? The only clue was that final CCTV footage from their home. The trance, the silence, the way they moved like sleepwalkers, loading their truck for a journey of no return. Four years passed. The seasons changed. The leaves fell and covered the ground, hiding secrets. November 16th, 2013. Two deer hunters were tracking game in a remote area called Smoker Eyes. It was only about 3 miles away from where the truck was found. But in this rugged terrain, 3 miles might as well be 300. It is a place of steep ravines, thick briars, and rocky cliffs. One of the hunters spotted something white sticking out of the leaf litter. It was a skull, then another, and a smaller one, the remains of 2 adults and a child, lying face down, side by side, almost as if they had laid down to sleep together in the dirt. The medical examiner tried to find answers. Was there a bullet hole? No. Stab marks on the bones? No. The decomposition was too advanced. Did they freeze to death? Did they drink poison? Or were they murdered and left there? The autopsy report simply read, "Cause of death, unknown." The wind had scattered the evidence. The insects had taken the rest. The Jamison family was found, but they were never truly solved. They remain the ghosts of the Red Oak Mountains. The Jamison family drove into the mystery, but sometimes the mystery comes for the innocent. Before we close our eyes tonight, let us visit one last forest. The Great Smoky Mountains, June 14th, 1969, a sunny, perfect summer day. Dennis Martin was 6 years old. He was wearing a bright red shirt. He was camping with his father, grandfather, and older brother at a place called Spence Field. It is a beautiful, grassy meadow, high up in the mountains. The adults were sitting on the grass, talking. Dennis and the other children decided to play a prank on the grown-ups. They planned to sneak behind different bushes and then jump out to scare them. A classic game of hide-and-seek. Dennis's father watched his son run toward a large rhododendron bush. He saw the flash of the red shirt. He saw Dennis step behind the bush. He waited for the jump scare. He waited and waited. The other children jumped out. Boo! Laughter. But Dennis did not jump out. His father stood up. Dennis? He walked over to the bush. There was no one there. It had been less than 5 minutes. He ran around the bush. He checked the trail. Dennis. Nothing. Just the wind blowing through the grass. Over the next few weeks, the search for Dennis Martin became the largest in the history of the national parks. 1,400 people searched. The Green Berets, Special Forces soldiers, were flown in to help, but nature fought back. That very night, a massive storm struck the mountains. Rain washed away footprints. Fog blinded the searchers. There was only one chilling clue. Weeks later, a family who had been hiking miles away reported something strange. They said they heard a scream, a terrible, high-pitched scream, and they saw a figure moving through the trees, a figure that looked wild. It was carrying something on its shoulder, something red. Was it a bear, or was it the wild man of the Smokies that the locals whispered about? Dennis Martin was never found. Not a shoe, not a scrap of his red shirt. He stepped behind a bush in a crowded meadow and walked straight out of our world, leaving us to wonder what watches us from the tree line when we think we are safe. The stories are over now, the mysteries of the vanishing woods, the silent snow of his darling, the empty trucks and the missing travelers. They're all fading away. They are just stories, like smoke drifting into the night air. They cannot touch you. You are here, in your bed, safe, warm, protected. Listen to the sound of the rain in the video. Imagine that this rain is creating a shield around your room, a protective barrier that nothing can cross. The outside world is dark and cold, but your world, right here, is filled with golden light. Take a deep breath in, filling your lungs with peace, and breathe out, letting go of the tension from the stories. In and out. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw unclench. Let your hands rest gently by your sides. There is nowhere else you need to be. There is nothing else you need to do. Just listen and drift. I want you to imagine a place with me. Imagine you are inside a small, sturdy log cabin, deep in a peaceful forest. But this is not a scary forest. This is a sanctuary. Outside it is raining, a heavy, rhythmic storm. You can hear the wind blowing through the pine trees, but inside it is perfectly still. In the center of the room there is a fireplace. Watch the flames dancing on the logs, orange and yellow light flickering on the wooden walls. Can you hear the crackle of the wood? Can you feel the warmth radiating toward you? You are sitting in a large, soft armchair, wrapped in a heavy wool blanket. You are holding a mug of warm tea. You can feel the heat of the mug against your palms. Look out the window. You can see the rain hitting the glass, running down in rivulets. The world outside is chaotic, but you are untouched. You are the observer, safe in your fortress of solitude. Now, let the warmth of the fire spread through your body. We are going to turn off the lights in the house of your body, one room at a time. Focus on your feet, your toes, your arches, your ankles. Feel them becoming heavy, like stone. Imagine a warm, golden light flowing into them. Tell them, sleep now, and feel them disconnect. Move up to your calves and your knees. Release the tension in your muscles. Let them sink deeper into the mattress. They are so heavy. You couldn't lift them even if you wanted to, and you don't want to. Sleep now. Focus on your thighs and your hips. These muscles carry you all day. Now they can rest. Let them melt like butter on warm toast. Soft, loose, heavy. Sleep now. Move your attention to your stomach and your chest. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your breath. Slow, rhythmic, like the tides of an ocean. With every exhale, you sink deeper, deeper into the warmth. Sleep now. Your hands, your arms, your shoulders. Let go of anything you are holding on to. Let go of tomorrow's tasks. Let go of yesterday's worries. Your arms are lifeless, resting heavily at your sides. Sleep now. And finally, your face. Smooth out your forehead. Relax your eyes behind your eyelids. Unstick your tongue from the roof of your mouth. Your entire head is heavy, resting on the pillow, sinking, sinking, sinking. You are drifting away now, floating on a dark, calm river. I will count down from 10 to 1. With each number, you will go twice as deep. 10. The rain is getting softer. 9. The fire is fading to glowing embers. 8. Your body is asleep. 7. Your mind is free. 6. Drifting deeper. 5. Halfway to the dream world. 4. So tired, so comfortable. 3. Almost there. 2. Letting go completely. 1. Sleep, sleep, sleep.